A Catholic priest has been blocked from becoming the University of Nottingham's official chaplain because of his views on abortion and assisted dying. In a social media post, Father David Palmer described abortion as the, quote, slaughter of babies, and also said that an assisted dying bill would allow the NHS to, quote, kill the vulnerable. Now, the Catholic Church opposes all forms of abortion, saying that human life must be respected and protected absolutely from the moment of conception. It also opposes assisted dying. Now, the University of Nottingham has said it won't recognise Father David as an official chaplain, but it will allow him to conduct Mass as a guest priest. Father David Palmer joins us now. Thank you very much. I actually went to the University of Nottingham, so there's an element of relevance here. And I must say, I for one, am shocked that this has happened to you. A lot of people are saying you've just essentially been cancelled for having Catholic beliefs. Your thoughts?
Yeah. Well, I myself was actually a graduate of Nottingham University, as it happens as well. But there we are. That is literally what happened. So I went for the interview, and that all seemed to be fine. And then I got a message. Well, no, I didn't get a message. I went to the bishop saying they had concerns about it. So could I go back in again? So I did. And at the second interview, they said that the first interview had been fine, but someone raised an issue over a couple of your tweets that we have concerns about. And so I said, could you let me know which tweets? And the two they brought up are the two you referred to. The first one was referring to Joe Biden, actually, and he's a Catholic politician, supposedly, but his promotion of Planned Parenthood and abortion providers in America. And I said, you know, that the outrage here is not that the bishops are suggesting not giving him communion, but the fact that we have a Catholic politician who's promoting the slaughter of unborn babies, I did say. The Catholic Church teaches that abortion is an abominable crime. That's in the Catechism. And the other tweet was about Matt Hancock talking about the assisted dying bill that's maybe going through now. And I said, having spent a year trying to protect the lives of the vulnerable through a lockdown, supposedly, Matt Hancock's now talking about allowing the NHS to kill vulnerable people. And they said that was inappropriate language. Now, the Catechism, again, calls it a murderous act. So I think I was actually being more moderate than the Catholic.
Well, potentially. I mean, that's the university's line, isn't it? That it's not what you said, it's the way you said it, and that potentially you did use some quite forceful language. What's your take on that?
Well, my take on that would be you can't... So for the example about killing the vulnerable, that is what the Catholic Church believes euthanasia is. So for them to say, you can have those opinions, but we don't like the way you say it, well, the opinion that I've got is that euthanasia is killing the vulnerable. Yeah. That is the opinion of the Catholic Church. So it means nothing to say you can hold those opinions, but you can't say them.
Just out of interest, I mean, because I think this is one of the questions that I wanted to ask, really, which is that presumably an imam at the university may well have similar views on things like abortion, on things like assisted dying. I suppose the problem is that he just didn't tweet it.
Quite possibly, yeah. I mean, you know, there's 3 Muslim chaplains, I believe. There's Jewish chaplains. There's about 8 other Christian chaplains of various denominations, and only one chaplain that's been not recognised officially, although I can still go to say Mass on the campus and preach. So even that is a bit strange. Is a Catholic because of particularly Catholic views. So the whole kind of sanctity of life is a very fundamental Catholic teaching, and they know that. I mean, what is the point of?
Well, it's not a secret, is it?
Well, I mean, it's not. No one's going to be surprised that Catholic priests as opposed to abortion and euthanasia.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not
it's revolutionary stuff, Father.
Those views, but it's as basic as you get. This is what the Catholic Church believes.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they have to agree with those views, but you can't expect a Catholic chaplain not to believe that.
No, I mean, you weren't exactly tying people to a horse and cart and dragging them to Mass on a Sunday, were you? I mean, this is the thing. They can choose to listen to it if they want. They can choose to be an atheist if they want. They could choose to be Jewish or Sikh or Hindu or goodness knows what other denomination they decide to be. Do you feel as though potentially in this country Christianity as a whole is maybe seen as a bit of an easier target? Do you think it gets a rougher ride?
Yeah, I do. And I think it is an easy target. And I think that's partly because in some ways... because we are historically Christian, if you go back far enough, historically Catholic indeed. And so because of that, I think when people attack Christianity, they kind of feel it's a safe target because in some ways it's their cultural inheritance, perhaps, in a way that some others aren't. So when you're attacking other religions, it feels more dangerous in that sense. But it's still completely unjust. And actually, I mean, universities were initially founded by the Catholic Church. They were Catholic institutions. All the great universities of Europe, from Oxford to Cambridge, to the ones other European, they were founded by the Catholic Church. And now apparently, the Catholic viewpoint, held by 1.4 billion people around the world, is not allowed to be expressed at Nottingham University, which I think is critical. And a university is supposed to be a place of diversity. They keep talking about diversity, but diversity means allowing people with different opinions. Well, diversity does not mean you will have to say the same thing. That's the complete opposite.
When I was at Nottingham University, that very university, I was taught some pretty fruity stuff about radical feminism and New Age feminism and the idea that men and women should live completely separately and that there's no need for men at all. I was taught things about nuclear disarmament and all of these different kinds of things, different political ideologies, right the way from Marxism all the way through to, you kind of ultra-Tory, as it were. And that was all fine because it's a place where you want to have those conversations. It's a university. Do you worry as though now free speech on campus is dying?
I think we're at a kind of dangerous junction. And I think what encourages me in this whole situation is the amount of people that are actually kicking back against it. I mean, one of the intriguing people who tweeted supporting me was Anne Faridi, who was the former CEO of BPAS, Britain's largest private abortion provider. So not a natural ally. But she tweeted saying it's ridiculous to cancel this man. He's a Catholic priest, for goodness sake, in inverted commas. So when people like that, so I think people are worried about freedom of speech, freedom of opinion, freedom of expression, and it's actually bringing people together on this issue from completely different positions, because we all recognise that actually if we can't have free, open conversation, then we are heading to a very worrying
some people, some people, just to give the other side of this, right, some people might say, hang on a minute, the Catholic Church isn't keeping up with modern society. Maybe the Catholic Church needs to change. Your thoughts?
Well, I think, the ethical issues over where life starts and where, what human life is, I think they are still real issues to be debated. Just because modern society increasingly thinks abortion is right doesn't actually make it right. But of course, that's the whole point. You can't, if somebody wants to argue against the Catholic position, that's absolutely fine. No one. Well, I'm certainly not saying they can't express that. They can't forcefully disagree with me. But some of these people are saying I can't express my beliefs, the beliefs of my church, my faith, built upon, an ancient tradition of philosophical thinking, from Thomas Aquinas. It's not just something we just made up. It's an ancient tradition with a long historical and intellectual thought development. And they're not arguing. They're just saying you can't say it.
OK, all right. I think it is a very kind of divisive issue for a lot of people, isn't it? But that said, I just wonder what your thoughts are in terms of the idea now that you might have to be censored. I mean, are we censoring religion now? Is that where we are?
Effectively. I mean, this is the thing. Religion is a protected characteristic. So they can't say, we're not appointing you because of your beliefs, which is why they're saying, we don't have a problem with what you believe, just how you express it. But I'm literally expressing what I believe. So they clearly do have a problem with my Catholic beliefs. But they can't say that because it's a protected characteristic. So it's all kind of doublespeak. I really think it is. They don't want... I mean, if I was to go to campus and only say things, the Catholic teaching on being nice to refugees and the environment, which we also believe, if I limited myself to that, they wouldn't have a problem at all, I'm sure, because that's what is the orthodox thinking on campus. But as soon as it comes to sort of moral issues where the Catholic Church might diverge from the sort of the secular liberal consensus, then suddenly you can't say that. We don't want that. That's dangerous.
Yeah. Do you respect the opposing view? Do you respect... I mean, we actually very nearly had a debate in Parliament in this country a couple of months ago about whether or not you could abort up to the moment of birth for no reason other than you didn't like the gender of your child. I mean, can you respect the other side of it?
I respect. I mean, obviously, I believe. My philosophical belief is that human life begins at the moment of conception. But I have no desire to shut down the other side. I'm very happy to discuss and debate with the other side, absolutely, which is what university should do.
Well, that's the society. I mean, people kind of fought and died for that right. You would have thought, didn't you? Really, but there we go. Well, look, thank you very much. It's been great to have you on board. That's Father David Palmer there, who was basically discussing the fact that Nottingham University have taken umbrage, really, with essentially some of his Catholic views, which